Another person present at the time of the 1906 earthquake and the burning of San Francisco was Enrico Caruso, widely considered to be the greatest opera star of all time. He had performed the night before Carmen, and it was a smash hit. That's Enrico Caruso and Carmen would be. At any rate, the following morning was the earthquake, and he wrote this account of what he saw. This appeared in The Sketch, published in London in July 1906. You ask me to say what I saw and what I did during the terrible days which witnessed the destruction of San Francisco? Well, there have been many accounts of my so-called adventures published in the American papers, and most of them have not been quite correct. Some of the papers have said that I was terribly frightened, that I went half crazy with fear, that I dragged my valise out of the hotel into the square and sat upon it and wept. But this is all untrue. I was frightened, as many others were, but I did not lose my head. I was stopping at the Palace Hotel, where many of my fellow artists were staying, and very comfortable it was. I had a room on the 5th floor, and on Tuesday evening, the night before the great catastrophe, I went to bed feeling very contented. I had sung in Carmen that night, and the opera had one with fine account. We were all pleased, and as I said before, I went to bed that night feeling happy and contented. But what an awakening! You must know that I am not a very heavy sleeper. I always wake early, and when I feel restless, I get up and go for a walk. So on the Wednesday morning, early, I wake up about 5 o'clock, feel my bed rocking as though I am in a ship on the ocean, and for a moment I think I am dreaming that I am crossing the water on my way to my beautiful country. And so I take no notice for a moment, and then, as the rocking continues, I get up and go to the window, raise the shade, and look out. And what I see makes me tremble with fear. I see the buildings toppling over, big pieces of masonry falling, and from the street below I hear the cries and screams of men and women and children. I remain speechless, thinking I am in some dreadful nightmare. And for something like 40 seconds I stand there while the buildings fall and my room still rocks like a boat on the sea. And during that 40 seconds I think of 40,000 different things. All that I have ever done in my life passes before me. And I remember trivial things and important things. I think of my first appearance in Grand Opera, and I feel nervous as to my reception, and again I am going through last night's Carmen. And then I gather my faculties together and call for my valet. He comes rushing in quite cool, and without any tremor in his voice says, "It is nothing." But all the same, he advises me to dress quickly and go out into the open, lest the hotel fall and crush us to powder. By this time, the plaster on the ceiling has fallen in a great shower, covering the bed and the carpet and the furniture, and I, too, begin to think, it is time to get busy. My valet gives me some clothes. I know not what the garments are, but I get into a pair of trousers and into a coat and draw some socks on and my shoes. And every now and again, the room trembles, so that I jump and feel very nervous. I do not deny that I feel very nervous, for I am still thinking the building will fall to the ground and crush us. And all that time we hear the sound of crashing masonry and the cries of frightened people. Then we run down the stairs and into the street, and my valet, brave fellow that he is, goes back and bundles all my things into trunks, and drags them down 6 flights of stairs, and out into the open one by one. While he has gone for another and another, I watch those that have already arrived, and presently someone comes and tries to take my trunks, saying they are his. I say, no, they are mine, but he does not go away. Then a soldier comes up to me. I tell him this man wants to take my trunks, and that I am Caruso, the artist who sang in Carmen that night before. He remembers me, and makes the man who takes an interest in my baggage skidoo, as the Americans say. Then I make my way to Union Square, where I see some of my friends, and one of them tells me that he has lost everything except his voice, but he is thankful he has still got that. And they tell me to come to a house that is still standing, but I say houses are not safe. Nothing is safe but the open square, and I prefer to remain in a place where there is no fear of being buried by falling buildings. So I lie down in the square for a little rest, while my valet goes and looks after the baggage, and soon I begin to see the flames, and all the city is on fire. All the day I wander about, and I tell my valet we must try and get away. The soldiers will not let us pass. We can find no vehicle for our luggage, and this night we are forced to sleep on the hard ground in the open. My limbs ache yet from so rough a bed. Then my valet succeeds in getting a man with a cart, who he says will take us to the Oakland ferry for a certain sum, and we agree to his terms. We pile the luggage into the cart, and we climb in after, and the man whips up his horse, and we start. We pass terrible scenes on the way, buildings in ruins, and everywhere there seemed to be smoke and dust. The driver seems in no hurry. which makes me impatient at times, for I am longing to return to New York, where I know I shall find a ship to take me to my beautiful Italy and my wife and my little boys. When we arrive at Oakland, we find a train there, which is just about to start, and the officials are very polite, take charge of my luggage, and tell me to get on board, which I am very glad to do. The trip to New York seems very long and tedious, and I sleep very little, for I can still see the terrible rocking which made me sick. Even now, I can only sleep an hour at a time. The experience was a terrible one. Printed The Sketch, London, reprinted in the Theatre, Volume 6, Number 65, July 1st, 1906. Enrico Caruso. Hi there. Be sure to like and subscribe for more of the fantastical stories that history is full of. There are going to be more, and they're all, every one of them, going to be completely awesome. See you then.